What's up, y'all? Welcome back to a brand new video. This is different than videos that I normally do on my channel, but I think it's something that I'm going to start doing here a little bit, is fan casting. If you don't know what fan casting is, it is exactly what it sounds like. It is a fan casting their dream casts for a movie. Or, in this case, this is different for me, a TV show. But it's the Harry Potter TV show, so it might as well be a movie because I'm sure it's going to have the production of a movie. If you didn't know, HBO is working on an upcoming Harry Potter TV show that is going to be a remake of the books that'll be coming out here in a couple of years. They're currently casting. I know that they are just opened up their casting for the Golden Trio of Harry, Ron, and Hermione for, I think it was like 9 to 11-year-olds or 9 to 10-year-olds in the UK and Ireland. And I've been reading reports of that they have apparently found the person that they want to play Voldemort, but I don't think I don't know if those are true or not, so I'll get into those later when I talk about Voldemort in 7 episodes. Spoilers, I'm talking about Voldemort in 7 episodes because I'm going to make you wait. Boom. But this is going to, another spoiler, this is going to be a 7-episode series because I'm going to be going through book by book / movie by movie / season by season to cast these. I am going to, my wife just texted me, she's on her way home. That's good to know. I'll see you in a little bit. I try to only use actors from the UK or Ireland. I tried to match the correct ages from the book. I don't care if the looks are necessarily book accurate, and I'll get more into that later in, I think, the 3rd episode. Through this series, I won't necessarily be casting any of the Hogwarts students, except for one, because I believe that they should be young, unknown actors. This is, like I said, for the upcoming series on Max, so I tried to use that timeline. I also tried to not use any actors that had been in Harry Potter before. And I just want to say that I think that the movies are near perfectly cast, so they were somewhat of a reference point for me, though I was going based off the books. Originally, I was going to talk about characters in the books they introduced, but I wanted to divvy it up a little bit because a lot of the characters are introduced in the first couple of books, and then by the 5th, 6th, well, not the 5th, but the 6th and 7th books, you're not getting a ton of new characters. You are still getting some, but not a ton. So some characters, like Voldemort or even Professor Snape, won't be discussed until later episodes because somehow I got to get you to watch those videos too. So today we're going to discuss 7 characters, I think. The Dursleys. No, more than 7 actually. But we're going to be discussing the Dursleys, I don't know why I said it like that, Petunia and Vernon, Professor Quirrell, Professor McGonagall, Hagrid, Mr. Filch, Nearly Headless Nick, Peeves, the Poltergeist, and Professor Albus Dumbledore. I'll give that one to you in the first video here. You know, there's a couple big ones. I'd say it's really like Snape, Dumbledore, Voldemort that everyone is curious about and always talking about online. So, anyways, we'll save Dumbledore for the end, though, because I'm going to play with you like that. Yeah, what you going to do about that? So we're going to start with Harry's cruel aunt, Miss Petunia Dursley, formerly Evans. And here I would cast... So I was talking to my wife, and I was like, I don't know how to Photoshop. I was going to try to Photoshop the actors' faces onto the characters. It's just not going to work out, guys. So put a picture of the character here. So right here is a picture of Petunia, and then I'll replace it with a picture of the actor. So I would cast Bessie Carter. So she actually is around the same age as the actress I would cast for Lily, but keep in mind that Lily has been dead for 11 years, so they probably really shouldn't be the same age. So James and Lily actually died in the books. They were only 21. They had gotten married freshly out of Hogwarts and had Harry very young. So I imagine that Petunia would be in her early 30s. So Bessie Carter is actually 30 years old. The actor I cast as Uncle Vernon is a bit older than that. He's a couple decades older. But I would have him act down in age. So the character would probably be like 40. So still a little older. Anyways. Bessie Carter, she's known for her role as Prudence Featherington on Bridgerton, and I pull from Bridgerton and a couple other British series featuring a lot of British actors and actresses a lot in these videos, just because that's a good talent pool. if you don't watch Bridgerton, she's very much like an evil stepsister from Cinderella vibe. You know, that's her character type, that's her archetype, is that, which I think is perfect for Petunia. If you just make her a little bit older, instead of her being a teenage stepsister, she's the aunt. It's also worth noting she's the daughter of Harry Potter alum Imelda Staunton, who played Dolores Umbridge brilliantly in the films, and she's also the daughter of Jim Carter of Downton Abbey fame. I always want to say Downton Abbey fame. So she's a nepo baby, but nothing wrong with that here. I would cast Bessie Carter as Petunia Dursley. Next up, we have Uncle Vernon Dursley, and I said Hogwarts students, I know. Dudley, I would cast again as an unknown young actor. Anyways, for Uncle Vernon, I would cast an actor who, from interviews and stuff I've seen, he's significantly nicer than Vernon Dursley in real life, and that is Nick Frost. So, Frost is 52 years old. 22 years older than Bessie Carter, so significant age gap there. But like I said, I think I would have him play down to probably about 40. Not that he needs to come out and say, "Hey, I'm 40," but like just he doesn't. I think he can pass for younger. I think he could bring a comedic side to Vernon, which I think is surprisingly necessary. If you take a look at Richard Griffith's take on the character, as well as the character in the book, yes, he's cruel, he's a jerk, he's not a good person, but there's a levity of comedic undertones in that character. My first thought was actually Ricky Gervais would be perfect for the character, but I think at 63. That would be pushing it. He's just a little too old. But I think Frost has a good commanding presence that will work for the character. Like I said, bring that surprise comedy that you need. So, Nick Frost as Uncle Vernon Dursley. Now, we're going to a role that's pretty much going to be recast every year, the Defense Against the Dark Arts Professor, who in Book 1 is filled by Quirrell, and okay, I was going to say I'm trying not to spoil stuff. This book was written in the 90s, y'all. I'm sure if you're watching this, you've read the books, seen the movies. Like, you wouldn't just be watching this if you don't care about Harry Potter. So anyways, I'm going to go with Matthew Needham, who is mostly known for his role as Laris Strong, the Clubfoot, in House of the Dragon. I think Laris and Quirrell have a good amount in common. They have similar traits. They're both meek characters, but spoilers, like I said, for Sorcerer's Stone, which, like I said, you probably know. Quirrell has the sliminess, the villainy to him. That's only revealed in the last chapter, but I think Matthew Needham can bring that to the role and make it in that last episode, 2 episodes, whatever it is, show that really quickly while seeing just like meek and weak, and bleak and a freak throughout the rest. And I think he can do that here. So, Matthew Needham as Professor Quirrell. Next, we're going to do a much smaller role that I don't really think needs a big name actor, but I had one come to mind, and that is going to be, that's so funny. I didn't even say here in my script that I'm reading, I didn't even say who the character is until later. But it is Mr. Argus Filch, the squib caretaker of Hogwarts that cleans up all the messes, who showing a picture of right here so you know who he is. But I would cast Scotsman Robert Carlyle in the role. Carlyle's known for his roles in Trainspotting, The Full Monty, and more recently as Rumpelstiltskin in Once Upon a Time. I really don't have too much to say just because, like I said, Mr. Filch is a fairly inconsequential character. I just thought this casting worked, and it came to mind. So, before we hit on some professors and, well, actually I have another ghost first. Well, not first, but before the professors. We're going to go to Mr. Filch's counterpart, who's probably the most important, major, whatever character. He's not an important character, but the most major character excluded from the films, who is Peeves the Poltergeist. So, you see a picture of Peeves here. He's not a ghost. He's a poltergeist. He is a personification of rule breaking and foolishness and being silly and playing pranks, and that's the purpose that he provides at Hogwarts. He was originally meant to appear played by Rick Mayall, who maybe I'm butchering his name. I don't know who that is. He's a British comedian. Now, I really like the thought. He was cut out of the movies, but I really like the thought of having a comedian in the role, and him just coming in, pulling pranks, and just quipping whenever necessary. So I'm going to cast British comedian Jimmy Carr. Carr has acted before, so that's not going to be difficult for him. I think he would be very good in this role. I could just see him floating through a wall, coming down, saying a joke, and floating away. A lot of my knowledge and familiarity with stand-up comedians comes from me watching clips of their stand-up specials and shows on TikTok. So that's mostly where I'm familiar with him. But Jimmy Carr as Peeves the Poltergeist. Now, from a poltergeist to a ghost, which I'll give you a spiel real quick. Poltergeist, that's like a manifestation of something, like I said, for Peeves, foolishness, rule breaking. There's actually a theory that I subscribed to that Filch is also a poltergeist that you can find on the Super Carlin Brothers channel, because that's how much of a nerd I am. I watch videos and theories about Harry Potter. I'll talk more about my love for Harry Potter in a different episode. But anyways, now we have a ghost, which is the spirit of a dead person, and that is Mr. Nicholas de Mimsy Porpington, a.k.a. Sir Nearly Headless Nick. I didn't even have his name on here. That's just how much of a nerd I am that I know it. I was thinking that I didn't need to cast Nick because he's not that major of a character. But in the movies, they got freaking John Cleese. So, like, I want to go with someone that's a good a big name like that too. Not quite the name of John Cleese, but I'm going to go with Steve Coogan, who can bring some comedy to the character. Again, they had John Cleese in the role, so they want comedy. He plays a slightly bigger part in the books. I think we only see him in the first 2 movies. He appears in, I think, every book. And plays a big role in the second book. And at the end of the day, just like Peeves, he's really just here for comedy, and he does occasionally provide Harry with some exposition, maybe some history. But Nearly Headless Nick, Steve Coogan is who I would cast in the role. Next, we're going to go with the Transfiguration Professor and Deputy Headmistress of Hogwarts, Minerva McGonagall. So the actress that I'm casting is younger than we may picture McGonagall at only 50. I think that's because a lot of us, we picture Dame Maggie Smith in the role. Obviously, she played it brilliantly in the movies. She brought the character to life. But I think that this actress at 50, she still brings the respectable and authoritative yet caring role of Professor McGonagall. And I'm going to go with Hannah Waddingham. She's been in a variety of things, Game of Thrones, Hocus Pocus. She was recently in the movie The Fall Guy. But she's mostly known for her role as Rebecca Welton in Ted Lasso, which is another thing I'm going to be pulling from a good amount because there's a lot of good British actors in there. McGonagall has a handful of moments in the books that she's unnecessarily strict, which I think Waddingham can absolutely deliver on. But she also has some very funny and caring moments where it shows you that, like, she really does love the students. She loves Gryffindor. She loves Quidditch. And I think that she can hit on those marks as well. So I would go Hannah Waddingham as Professor McGonagall. Next on, we're going to move to the one and only Rubeus Hagrid. Yeah, Rubeus. You take your pick. I don't care. At first, I thought about trying to cast a big actor. And when I was talking to my wife about who I cast, she was like, oh, is he big? Like a big, tall guy? And I was like, not really. But I realized that Robbie Coltrane is only 6'1", and as a 6'2" individual, that's short. I'm just kidding. But obviously, he's a big guy, but he's not Hagrid sized because very few people are. It's like, unless I was going to cast like Shaq or The Big Show from WWE, I'm not really pulling from the right pool. So I decided to go in a different direction here with an actor that's familiar with working with special effects and CGI. He is 60 years old. I'm sure when I said an actor familiar with working in special effects CGI, your mind went straight to him. Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis is one of those actors that I don't realize how much I love him until I watch something with him, and I'm like, man, I love that guy. I watch interviews with him. I'm like, he's the best. The best motion capture actor there ever has been, I think probably ever will be, because he was so revolutionary in his roles as Gollum in Lord of the Rings, King Kong in the, I think it's 2005 or 6 version of King Kong. Maybe it's 8, 7, 8. I don't know. In King Kong, he plays King Kong. He does some motion capture in The Adventures of Tintin. My favorite role of his it might be Gollum, but if not, it's this one as Caesar in the Planet of the Apes trilogy. He's fantastic in that role. He plays Supreme Leader Snoke in Star Wars. He played Baloo in Mowgli, Jungle Book movie. And he's going to be playing Gollum again here soon. Now, in recent years, he has proven that he can act without CGI. But he's also, like I said, he's used to having to work around the special effects, which I think will be needed to bring in that aspect of Hagrid's size, right? I would cite for his performance, specifically his role as Alfred in The Batman, to bring the caring side. I think he's versatile enough to play Hagrid's childlike, silly side as well, though, where he's slipping up, saying things he shouldn't. So I would go Andy Serkis as Hagrid. Hi, baby. I had to say hi to my wife. I have one more casting, and then I'll be done. This is going to be in the video. So, like I said to my wife just now, I have one more casting, and then this video is over, and it's the one you're waiting for. Professor Dumbledore, Albus Dumbledore. So, this was probably one of the hardest people to cast. Oh, hi, Ryder. Because there's so many fan casts online. But before I get into Dumbledore, I'm going to say, I'll put a picture up of him too. But if they need someone to play Baby Harry in any scenes, we can do this guy right here. I'm going to put a picture of him in his Gryffindor pajamas, because he's just a proud Gryffindor. Hi, Bubba.
We don't know that yet.
Oh, Destiny said we don't know that yet. On his 9 3/4 birthday, we'll let him decide what house he's in. Do you have anything you want to say? No. Okay, he doesn't have anything he wants to say. But I would cast Ryder Wilson as Baby Harry. Now, back to Professor Dumbledore. There's so many fan casts online. Pretty much every old actor, every old British actor, it's like people are like, I want to see that guy as Dumbledore. Which I did use some of those inspiration, though this one came to me myself. But after it came to me, I continued researching just to see if there's anyone else out there, and I did end up seeing it online as well. So I'm not the originator of this idea, even though it came to me independently. I was an independent idea, but not an original idea, I guess I'll say. But I don't want to be morbid here, but you can't cast an actor that's too old, because like this series is probably going to be filming for a decade. Hopefully it doesn't take longer than that. That would be ridiculous. I hope it's like a year a season, like they did with the movies. But some popular ones I saw were Michael Caine, who's already 91. Ian McKellen, who is 85, and I also just don't like that because, like, he's Gandalf. He can't be Dumbledore, too. That's unfair. And Ben Kingsley is another one, but he's 80. And it's like, I don't want to be morbid. I hope these men live for a very long time, but, like, I wouldn't feel comfortable personally casting them in the role and then having to recast like they did with Richard Harris. Again, in the movies it worked. It was a pretty seamless transition. Speaking of Richard Harris, his son, Jared Harris, is someone who I've also seen. Richard Harris, of course, played Dumbledore in the first 2 films before he passed away and was replaced by Michael Gambon, who also recently passed away. But I actually have Jared Harris, spoilers, in another role later on in the series. You need someone that can capture the silliness, the compassion, and the joy of the character. But most importantly, I think even more importantly than those things, because I know those were something that kind of struggled with in the movies, the later movies, Goblet of Fire, there's a very specific scene where Dumbledore is much more kind and caring in the books than he is in the movies. But to me, the most important thing about Dumbledore is the presence, right? He needs to just come on the screen and he has the scene. Everyone's paying attention to him. Everyone believes what he's saying. He's authoritative and he's in charge. The name that I had on here for a while was actually Sean Bean. He was not my casting, but I had Sean Bean on here for a while because he has that presence to me. We saw that when he was younger in Lord of the Rings as Boromir, and he's been in countless projects. He played Zeus in Percy Jackson. That's another one. It's like he's on screen. He's in charge. As Ned Stark, of course, in Game of Thrones, he has this presence to him, this leadership. But maybe it's just because of the roles I've seen him with, I would have a hard time with him doing the silly side. So I found an answer that I'm happier with, and that is Pierce Brosnan. At 71 years old, I think he's a good age. He is a good serious actor that has taken on serious roles, but he's also done more silly, lighthearted roles like in the Mamma Mia movies. I think he has the looks. Like I said, I think he has the levity, and I think he could be here more long term. So that's it. Pierce Brosnan as Albus Dumbledore, which I know some of you older folks that may be watching this are like, Pierce Brosnan as Dumbledore? No way, he's not old enough. Guess what? He is now. He's not James Bond anymore. Well, he'll always be James Bond, but he's not James Bond anymore. Now he could be Dumbledore. No, so that's it for my first round of castings. I hope you enjoyed those. Let me know in the comments below if you watched, if you have any actors or actresses that you think would fit well in those roles. Stay tuned for episode 2, where I highlight Chamber of Secrets. That'll be coming out very soon. I'll probably record that maybe later today or tonight. Sometime later. I don't know. And I don't know how long these videos are going to take me to get edited. I know not very long because the Photoshop isn't going to work out. So I'm just putting pictures that already exist. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. Peace!